Ladies and gentlemen, Alex Jones here on Friday night with a breaking news announcement. We're here with Roger Stone, the former head of Trump's campaign, the consummate Trump insider. He told me days before it even happened about the Koch brothers meeting that would be happening in New York with Marco Rubio, to steal the election from Trump, and now it's in the news today. He had moles inside. He's got the full skinny on what's about to happen. This is so huge. The Pope, the Mexican president, the Chinese government, the Democrats, the Republicans, the whole power structure against Trump. This has never happened in U.S. politics or world politics. He's got the full scoop right now. StoneZone.com is his website. Our site's Infowars.com. You're about to get an exclusive on this right now. This is dangerous stuff, folks. This is huge. Here is Roger Stone.
So David and Charles Koch pulled together a group of billionaires and millionaires in New York last night. And they pulled together $75 million to stop Donald Trump. Now you're going to read it was $20 million. There's a little confusion here. $75 million to stop Trump, $25 million for Marco Rubio, but they gave Marco a condition. He's got to win the Florida primary. He's out and Mitt Romney's in. So that's the plan. First they will ramp up an enormous negative campaign on TV against Trump. They're going to hit this phony Trump University issue. They claim to have personal dirt on Trump. I doubt that. They are going to try to delve into his business affairs. But if Rubio fails to grab the Florida primary, then Rubio's out, Mitt Romney's in. The plan is for Romney to file for the New Jersey, New York, and California primaries in an all-out ditch effort to stop Donald Trump. You heard it here on Infowars.com.
Now, tonight, before we go any further, though, you laid out so much stuff at the 2-hour dinner we had. Getting into Rubio, getting into Cruz, and so much of it was on record, some of it was off record. A lot of that can confirm separate from my sources. But the deals that are being made, the offers that are being made, the wives that are calling wives, people want to know. Millions of them want to know. So you were like, yeah, I'll talk about this, I'll talk about that. I know you were on my show for 2.5 hours today. I know you're tired, I'm tired. But please, folks who are watching, give them the same data dump I got.
Well, here's what we know. Mrs. Marco Rubio called Ted Cruz's wife, desperately begging her to get Cruz out of the race and aid Marco Rubio. The answer was no. Emissaries from Ted Cruz reached out to Donald Trump, saying that he was willing to get out of the primary, out of the Super Tuesday primary prior to Tuesday, if Trump were willing to give him a Supreme Court nomination, to commit to a Supreme Court nomination. Trump's answer was no dice. Now, my sources tell me Ted Cruz is trying to make the exact same deal with Marco Rubio. I doubt that's a buy either. So, the power structure's desperate. The Rubio and Cruz teams are going back and forth, but they can't agree as to who will be the candidate. I still believe Mitt Romney, totally dressed up, already made up, waiting in the wings, ready to step in as the last best hope of the Stop Trump movement. And frankly, I think Trump will bulldoze him as well.
Roger Stone, have we ever seen the establishment in your 40 years of politics this lined up against somebody? If this isn't an endorsement of Trump's, like you said on CNN before they banned you, thank you, Pope. Thank you, Chinese government. Thank you, Vicente Fox. Thank you, Democrat and Republican leadership. Why are they so scared of Trump? You laid a lot of other tidbits out. That's why I asked you to do this, because I don't want to get what's secret, what's not secret wrong. What's the data dump? Because this is going to be big news tomorrow at Infowars.com.
In all honesty, what I think is going on here is the reason the power structure is so upset. With Ronald Reagan, at a certain point, when he ran the table on the primaries, they decided that they would let him become president but try to co-opt him. First, they tried to force Gerald Ford on him as a running mate. Then they ultimately forced George Bush on him as a running mate. It's not surprising that there was an attempt on Reagan's life in the very first year of his presidency. Now, however, I think the power structure understands Donald Trump is a man who can't be bullied, can't be bought, can't be influenced. He's a nationalist. He believes in American sovereignty. He will send people to jail, starting with Hillary Clinton. By the way, Chelsea has signed all those fraudulent filings for the Clinton Foundation. That means she's legally liable. She's headed to the big house as well. Donald Trump will clean house. The big boys on Wall Street, the big boys in Washington, the lobbyist consultant class, they're wetting their pants. Donald Trump is prepared to clean up America, and I think he's going to challenge the
Roger
power
Stone,
structure.
consummate Trump insider. Why are the elites so scared of Donald Trump? We've never seen world leaders come out against somebody running for president. Why are they so scared?
It's very simple. You have a president who put America first. You have a president who isn't susceptible to the lobbyists, the special interests, the billionaires. I've known Donald Trump 40 years. This man believes deeply in the American dream. He is a guy who cannot be bullied. And they understand there's no way to co-opt him. He's much smarter than that. Also, a guy who is a Wharton graduate and a guy who's a self-made billionaire understands economics better than any of these pointy-headed intellectual Ivy League types who've been running things for 30 years. That's why they're petrified.
I myself like Ted Cruz. He's done a lot of great stuff, but the Goldman Sachs connection, his wife, that learns that they were quarterbacking the whole Bush agenda. I see a few commenters saying, Cruz, Cruz, Cruz. You know, I even ran into one of my friends today voting. He's like, well, I'm still doing Cruz. He's from Texas. Trump is more American or Texan than Cruz. He's from Canada. Nothing against Canadians and Maple Leafs, but I'm an 8th generation Texan. I'm going for Trump. You'd have to be blind not to support Trump with the whole power structure. He's exposing vaccines. He's exposing 28 pages 9/11. He's exposing the open borders. He's exposing the government funding ISIS. He's exposing the big mega banks tax exempt. I mean, and he's not bought and paid for. I don't see how they don't see it. What do you say about Ted Cruz?
Look, this is very simple. Ted Cruz's wife, Heidi, was a deputy to Condoleezza Rice, the deputy national security advisor when the Bushes lied us into war. Then she went over to the U.S. Trade Representative's office and served as the deputy U.S. Trade Representative for China policy. Go to her wiki page right now. Look at her bio. These things have been airbrushed out of existence. Ted Cruz's wife, a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, a progenitor of the North American Union. And then there's the question of the Goldman Sachs loans. Now, as a veteran of 9 Republican presidential campaigns and a myriad of state campaigns, I understand federal election law. A secret, low-interest, sweetheart loan from an international bank has to be reported under the law. Ted Cruz told a tearful story about calling his wife and telling her that she had to cash in her retirement to get the $200,000 necessary to finance his U.S. Senate campaign. Folks, they never cashed in anything. That's a lie. That combined with the collection of dirty tricks. First, they jackpot Ben Carson. I think Ben Carson's a patriot. I think he's a good man. So what do the Cruz people do? They plant the story on CNN that Ben's getting out. Then they have a prearranged list of email addresses and phone numbers for known Carson supporters in Iowa, and they jam them in the 2 hours before the polls open, or I should say before the caucuses begin, telling these people, these Carson supporters, your candidate's getting out. Switch to Ted Cruz. One of the most egregious and sophomoric dirty tricks I have ever seen. Then mailings, telling voters in Iowa that they're keeping track, that you're going to be held responsible if you don't turn out and vote. Doctoring pictures of Marco Rubio shaking hands with Barack Obama. Robocalls, telling voters in South Carolina, Donald Trump supports the gay and lesbian agenda. Donald Trump is pro-abortion. Donald Trump is the Antichrist. These are the most sophomoric, ridiculous, dirty tricks I've ever seen. That's why I call him Tricky Ted.
All right, in closing, to have the huevos to expose 9/11 truth, to expose vaccines, to expose the private Federal Reserve. You've known Donald for over 40 years. You're his major confidant, good friend. That's on record. Former head of his campaign, who got out of it on record so you could just say whatever you really thought. Why is Donald Trump doing this? And when we see the New York Times top writer calling for his murder, what does that really say about who Donald Trump represents and why the power structure is so scared?
Donald Trump has the greatest life in the world. He's got a palatial home in New York. He's got a phenomenal home in Palm Beach. He's built the greatest golf courses in the world. He's got his own jet, which in all honesty is much nicer than Air Force One, and I've been on Air Force One. Donald Trump's doing this because he doesn't want to see the United States of America go down the drain. He's tired of stupid decisions by blind leaders that sacrifice American sovereignty, and he sees the overall game plan of the globalists. Donald Trump's running for one reason and one reason over. He loves this country. He's tired of seeing us lose. He wants to put us back on a winning track. To him, I think this is about revitalizing our economy, bringing back jobs, rebuilding our military, restoring our strength, our economic strength, but also our military strength, and having a foreign policy that puts America first. I think he's running out of patriotism. Others say, oh, it's ego, he's just trying to burnish the brand. Nonsense, he's got the greatest life in the world. And I think he understands. He's putting his life in danger. When the top writer at the New York Times is calling publicly for his assassination, when a political consultant goes on CNN and calls for somebody to put a bullet in Trump, and then on another occasion accuses Ann Coulter, a good friend of mine, of having anal sex with Donald Trump. You notice he isn't barred at CNN. Only I'm barred at CNN, which is great because they're throwing me out of a club that I was never admitted to begin with. I think I've been on CNN twice in the last 18 months. So, you know what? I'm sticking with the Fox News Network and Infowars.com.
Roger Stone, thank you so much for the time. I know you've done a lot of interviews today. You're speaking at Brave New Books in Austin, Texas on Waterloo, 7 to 9 tomorrow. We're going to cover it live. We'll have excerpts on the Sunday show, 4 to 6 p.m. as well. Richard Reeves will be down there interviewing you. But I knew when the establishment attacked Trump and he had the will to cover the real issues, he was the guy to go for. But now I'm so proud that 6 months ago I began endorsing him because they are having heart attacks over what he's doing. When he brought out 9/11 Truth to watch the Bushes fold, your book, The Bush Crime Family, exposing that is just amazing. All the things that we've seen over and over again, the attack on language, the political correctness, in your gut, in being in 9 administrations, being inside 4 of them, covering all this, in your gut, what's his biggest hurdle in closing? Is it the nomination, them trying to steal it, or is it the general election? Because it's in the San Francisco Chronicle, the LA Times, the New York Times, they admit, top political analysts say Trump is going to win, 97 to 99%. They're nonpartisan, they do the algorithms, he's in. I'm really worried about what they may try, that closing point and what people can do to try to stop it.
The Republican National Committee, the Republican National Convention, nobody understands these rules like the Bush family and the Bush machine. They're going to pull out all the stops. They're going to rewrite these rules to allow a candidate like a Mitt Romney, some white knight for the establishment, to have his name put in nomination, despite the fact that he perhaps has won no delegates, no caucuses, and no primaries. They're going to monkey with the rules to try to do away with the binding, so that delegates that were honestly won by Donald Trump, they've already started. At the Iowa State Convention, they've already stolen delegates that Donald Trump won fair and square in those caucuses. So look for a rumble at the Republican National Convention. I am trying to assemble some of the best parliamentarians, some of the best convention political operatives in the country to come out of retirement, people who worked for Ronald Reagan, people who care about this country, to go to Cleveland and prepare for the onslaught.
What's that website? What's that website for folks that want to learn more?
Those who'd like to know more should go to stopthesteal.org. Stop the Steal, because that's exactly what they have in mind. If they can't beat Donald Trump at the ballot box, if they can't beat him in the caucuses, and they can, they're going to try to steal this. Now, they're giving Marco Rubio until the Florida primary. If he can't win the Florida primary, they're going to yank him. He'll be out of the race, and Mitt Romney is poised to step in. Stay tuned. This is going to be epic. It's going to be the rumble in Cleveland.
Well, Roger Stone, I got to tell you, I've been involved in politics for 25 years, 21 years on air. I've never seen a more epic, legendary time with the power structure more hysterical. There is a populist wave, regardless of who Donald Trump is in the final equation. The power structure is scared shitless of him. And I don't usually use words like that, but it fits. And that's why people have to get behind him, in my view, and not just sit on the fence and wait for a perfect candidate. Okay, we can't trust Rubio, we can't trust Cruz. We know they're scared of Trump, and he wants to deliver the populist message of make this country great again, cut our taxes, restore the republic. He's a nationalist, they're globalist, and I'm not going to sit on the sideline and just act like I'm perfect so I can sit there and say I'm perfect. I'm all behind Trump. I'm on record. I haven't done this in my 21 years on air. Even though I love years on air, been fully behind somebody, I'm behind Trump because he's a symbol of populism, a symbol of the revolt, a symbol of people taking action. Whether he's good, bad, or indifferent, you know him for 40 years and love him. It doesn't matter. He's now a symbol of the resistance. That's why they want to destroy that figurehead. 60 seconds, stonezone.com, infowars.com. Closing comments.
It's time to make America great again.
All right, folks, we'll be back on the radio tomorrow. He'll be speaking tomorrow at Brave New Books, 7 o'clock Central, stonezone.com, infowars.com. I'll be on the radio Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. You are the resistance.